Talk Nation. Welcome back, everybody. It's your boy. I need to take care of something real quick, man. People talking about Jaron Ennis really hasn't fought anybody. Well, he just knocked out and stopped Lipinets. That's number one. Number two, he's been calling out the top 5 competitors, top 10 competitors in the welterweight division since forever. You cannot have a stellar resume if nobody wants to fight you. They're doing the same thing with Terrence Crawford, which, by the way, Jaron Ennis also called out Terrence Crawford. And recently, Terrence Crawford did an interview with Fight Hype, and they were talking about what kind of challenge that Boots Ennis could pose to Terrence Crawford because he's a very smart, up-and-coming welterweight superstar. And to put it simple, Terrence Crawford said, "I'm a little smarter than Boots," and I was a little surprised he said that. You know what I mean? Because he kind of came at the young champion, but at the same time, Terrence Crawford is highly intelligent, highly skilled, and I truly believe that Jaron Boots Ennis is also highly intelligent and highly skilled, and he's young, so his ceiling right now is a little bit higher than Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford has a phenomenal fight coming up with Showtime Sean Porter. That fight is going to be super explosive. But when it comes to the future of the division, we don't even know if Terrence Crawford is going to fight Spence. And that's the fight that everybody wants to see. You heard Bud talking about, look, man, I'm tired of talking about it. You know that I want to fight. When they did the presser, he also, you know what I mean, spoke about it, you know what I mean, because they was talking about possibly fighting Spence. And he put his cards on the table, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, y'all already know that I want that fight. But it seems like Spence possibly don't want that fight. And that's the problem. These top guys, not only they don't want to fight each other, but they don't even want to fight the up-and-comers. And in my opinion, if you quote-unquote one of the top guys, these up-and-coming guys, you shouldn't have no problem with giving them a chance. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have the spot that you have. They don't have the position, the power that you have. So when it comes down to talking about a fight, trying to map everything out, let's get down to dollars and cents, shall we? You know what I'm saying? They're not going to be asking for a big ticket. Why? Because their name ain't like that. So if somebody still don't want to fight you after all this, that says something about their skill. And everybody know that Jaron Boots Ennis is a problem. The only notable welterweight to this day that I give props to, because he came out and said it on his own podcast, is Sean Porter. Shout out to the Porterweight podcast, by the way. Sean Porter already said, man, like, I'm not messing with these young dudes. And I respect that. Because Sean Porter, he knows and he sees not only the potential, but he know he can get upset by one of these young guys. And in particular, Jaron Ennis, because they wasn't talking about Virgil Ortiz, but I believe they did give respect to Virgil Ortiz. But in particular, they was talking about Boots. Now, we all seen what Boots did to Lipinets. He tore Lipinets up. It wasn't even funny. You know what I'm saying? Lipinets has never been beat up or stopped like that in his whole career. Never. And recently, he took to social media talking to Boots Ennis, and he said, you know what, I'm going back down to 140. And Lipinets himself said, you know what, it's a shame, but nobody's going to fight this kid. Lipinets put it out there himself. You know what I mean? Go back and look at, because I believe that I deleted the photo, but go back and check out Jaron Boots Ennis' Twitter, you know what I mean, Twitter thread, and scroll back, and you'll be able to see it. Let me tell y'all something. I am not Max Kellerman, you know what I'm saying? I am not Andre Ward. I ain't none of these dudes, man. You know what I mean? I try to keep it 100. I try to keep it as real as I can. You know what I mean? I don't have no relationship to none of these people. But I do respect and I love to talk about the fight game. More importantly, talent. Because a lot of people, a lot of fighters don't get the props and credit that they deserve. Because why? They maybe are not qualified as to say, I'm number one, I'm number two, I'm number three in the division. And some of these guys is nice, man. You know what I mean? But they don't get the credit that they deserve. And that's what's hurting boxing. The fights that should be made are being made because people are putting paper and power instead of passion. You know what I mean? And that's the love for the fight game. There's certain fighters, man, especially young guys coming up, who they have that old school mentality. And shout out to Bazzi Ennis, you know what I mean, boosts his pop. Because he brought his sons up, not his son, all of his sons up with that mentality. You know what I mean? Like, whoever want that smoke, what's up? And that's rare. And that's how it should be. That's how you truly, in my opinion, become number one. When everybody that wants to face you, once you knock them out or knock them off, you know what I'm saying? And basically you have to then grow through the rankings of mandatories or whatever like that. That's when, in my opinion, you truly are number one. When nobody don't want to say your name, that says a lot to me. When people duck you, that says a lot to me. When the top guys don't want to, quote unquote, say anything bad about you because they know who you are and they know what you're capable of, that says a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? So when October 30th comes and Jaron Boots Ennis faces Thomas Dulorme, yeah, I think it's going to be special. Thomas Dulorme, man, I mean, I believe he lost like his last, he won like one fight out of his last like 4 fights or something like that. He's been having a tough time. And unfortunately, he's going to have an even tougher go at it once he steps into the ring October 30th and he faces Jaron Boots Ennis. It's not going to be pretty. That's just in my humble opinion. Because looking at how he picked Lipinets apart, if Dulorme comes into this fight and he prepares and he puts on the best performance of his life, it still may not be good enough. It still may not be good enough. Because the way that Boots approaches every fight is not only the same, but it's like it's a championship fight. And he said it himself, the better the opposition, the better performance that you'll see out of me. And that should tell you something, because he's undefeated. Looking to be 28-0, I believe, with 26 knockouts, 27 knockouts. And he still has a lot of time in the game. And like I said, the top guys at the game, y'all, this is real talk, pay attention. They, in my opinion, are not going to fight this guy, man. Even like in the next 2 years, 3 years, because once Boots become a mandatory or he gains a title, that's the only way people are going to, fighters are going to face him. That's it. If he doesn't have that hardware, or if he's not a mandatory, he's not going to get those shots. So when people talk about who has he fought, you can't blame the fighter, man, if nobody wants to fight you. You know what I mean? You need to look at the opposition. That's what fans need to do. Start calling these guys out. Period. Like, hey, man, like go to their social media, whatever. If you live, you at the event and you talk to them, they being interviewed, put it out there, man. Hey, like, why don't you fight this person? Why don't you fight that person? And see their response. See what they say. It may surprise you. Maybe it won't. Because these days you always hear the same thing. Like, they know who they are. You know what I'm saying? Very good fighter, blah, blah, blah. But it all comes down to risk versus reward. And it's just too much risk for them to fight Jaron Ennis opposed to the reward. Because if they get embarrassed, get stopped, get knocked out, now their future fights are in jeopardy. Because why? How they looked in their last fight against the young champion. And the reason why I say young champion is because if Jaron Boots Ennis would have beat Chris Van Heerden, he'll be in a different situation right now. The conversation that we're presently having will be totally different. If he was able to fight, stop, knock out Chris Van Heerden. But because of that accidental headbutt, you know what I mean, caused that serious gash on Chris Van Heerden. No contest. The fight had to be stopped. That's it. And Jaron boots Ennis, man, after the fight at the presser, man, like visually, you could tell he was a little bit gutted, man, because he knew what he was about to do. He was already whooping Chris Van Heerden. Yeah, he was already whipping him. And then that happened. But I believe he learned from that. So he said, you know what, I'm going to be more patient, more methodical, but at the same time, I'm still going to be explosive and get off my offense. And that's what you've seen when he fought Sergey Lipinets. He remained poised. He got off his offense, you know what I mean? And you see how he dismantled Sergey Lipinets. So by him taking that approach, that's kind of making it even worse on his opponent, because now he's going to pick you apart before he stops you and knock you out, instead of just going in there, you know what I mean? Because when you go in there and you literally going right at a fighter, because look at Sean Porter and Terrence Crawford. Sean Porter knows that he can't outbox Bud, so he's going to have to go on the attack. But see, that's Sean Porter's style, and he's very good at that style. And not too many fighters, you know what I mean, can nullify and pick that style apart and slow Sean Porter down. The only fighter that I've seen to date that has done that is your Dennis Ugas. But Terrence Bud Crawford, in my opinion, he's a little bit better than Ugas. And Ugas is he's a very good fighter, man. You seen what he just did to Pacquiao, but I really can't give him that much credit over Pacquiao, because I truly believe that, number one, Pacquiao overtrained, and number two, and this is a big number two, he was already prepared mentally, physically, and spiritually to fight Errol Spence Jr. And because of Manny Pacquiao being the true champion that he is, he chose to continue and fight your Dennis Ugas to see who that belt rightfully belongs to. So now, Ugas is the, no ifs, ands, or buts, he's the WBA, you know what I mean, welterweight champion. And he deserves it. He did beat Manny. But Manny wasn't the Manny, I would say, even when he fought Thurman, it wasn't the same Pacquiao, because his leg was gone. Go back and watch the footage, you know what I'm saying, leading up to the fight. Freddie Roach already pointed it out. I mean, Justin Fortune was putting too many miles on Manny Pacquiao's legs, and then going back to the gym and then sparring, you know what I'm saying, 8, 10, 12 to 15 rounds. Crazy. And Manny doing this at 42, 43 years of age, and didn't complain not one time, and still went in there and with the distance with Ugas. Champion. Manny Pacquiao forever. But back to Boots, man. If he steps into this ring against Dulorme and he looks special, he looks fantastic, it's only going to elevate him. And a lot of these guys who don't want to give him that chance, Boots already said it himself, man. You better, you know what I'm saying, you better try to take me on, man, while I'm young, because the older I get, the more fights I get under my belt, I'm only going to improve. And with him already being so special, it's scary to think of how he can improve, evolve, and develop, even further in the next, let's just say, a year or two, depending upon how many fights he gets within that time frame. Because as I said, it's hard for Boots to get fights because nobody wants to fight him. So therefore, this fight, August 30th against Dulorme, although I think it's going to be a decent fight, as far as the performance that Boots is going to put on, and hopefully Dulorme puts on the best performance of his career so we can have a super explosive, fantastic fight. Because crazy to say, I don't want Boots to go in there and just get rid of him. You know what I mean? I want him to put on a show. I ain't gonna say the fight got to go 12 rounds, you know what I'm saying? But at least let it go 8. Before he fought, was it Lipinets? Or am I going back to the Van Heerden fight? I'm not too sure. I apologize, man. But Boots had a track record of getting everybody out of there by the 6th round. And that's crazy. Almost like he was trained to get people up out of there by the 6th round. Because every fight that he had, he was getting guys out of there by the 6th round. Literally the 6th round. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, And people was questioning like his gas tank, you know what I mean? He was always getting people out of there. Can he last 12 rounds? Like, y'all must not following this guy, man. Y'all must not seeing how this guy works. It's a couple of guys, man, I ain't gonna say more, it's probably more than a couple fighters, man. But as far as them being credited for being hard workers and extremely hard workers in the game, like Floyd, Canelo, you know what I mean? A lot of people, you talk to them who spend time in the gym with Boots or spar them or whatever like that, like tell you about this kid's work ethic. And he's a switch hitter. So besides him being dangerous in the southpaw stance and also orthodox, I mean, this dude, I mean, it doesn't matter what you come with, you know what I mean? And he said it himself. Like, you only seen about 20% or 25% of what I can do. Are you serious? So I'm with 35% looking like, damn it, what 50 looking like? When he faces somebody, hopefully like Bud, Spence, Porter, Thurman, Garcia, Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, shout out to RGBA, they fighting tonight. But when he fights one of these guys, will they elevate him to give 110% or 100%? Because I can't even fathom how that fight will look. But shout out to Errol Spence, man, because people still don't know what's going on with Spence. The doctor might still say, like, you know what? You might got to hang it up. Because when you start talking about your eyes, detached retinas and things like that, especially when you had to get surgery for something, it's starting to look real sketchy as far as, you know what I mean, how your career is going to progress, because you will be hit. And Errol Spence does get hit. He got touched up pretty good when he fought Sean Porter. You know what I mean? So if he fights somebody extremely skilled, Errol Spence is going to get touched. He's going to get hit. And trust me, that's just a fight game. They are going to target that eye. And depending upon who he fights, how good this person is, they can do some damage if they got power, if they are accurate. And you could possibly, this is Spence, end your career, you know what I'm saying, in your next fight or your next two fights, depending upon your damage. Whether you win a fight or not, automatically he's going to have to go to the hospital, you know what I mean, the optometrist or whatever, and get checked out and get his eyes checked out. Guaranteed. For every fight that Errol Spence have going forward, that's a part of his routine now, because he has to make sure that his vision is not going to be impaired in any fashion moving forward, as long as he's still boxing. So when Boots Ennis faces Thomas Dulorme October 30th, I can't wait, you know what I'm saying, because it's going to be a super explosive fight. But for those people, man, who talk about Boots ain't fought nobody, that's because nobody wants to fight Boots. Talk Nation, stand up, is your boy. Peace.